Welcome back to another exciting episodes of ISVs on Tap. My name is Josh Kelly, and I am the ISV Business Development Manager here at BlueStar. Joining me today is John Dodge of Freshwater Digital. Cheers, John. Welcome. Thanks for jumping on the podcast here, or video cast, whatever we're calling it these days. So thank you. First question, we're going to come out hot, man. Coming out hot. Tell me a little bit about you and Freshwater Digital.
Yeah. So I'm John Dodge, president of Freshwater Digital. I've been with the organization now for about 9 years. Freshwater Digital is going to be a little bit different than a lot of the other companies that you're visiting with on this podcast. So I guess the best way to position ourselves is we are an integrator with a really big focus on content solutions through a variety of content management platforms. So that's like the 50,000 foot view, right? So we'll get into kind of the specifics of that in a little bit, but full turnkey solutions, working with multiple industries, making sure that we can provide the right solutions for the right activation.
Yeah, right on. Perfect. That's great. And where are you guys based out of?
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Very good. I've been there. Great place. It just so happens to be a mecca for beer production, which is kind of
yes. When you said on tap, I'm like, we've got plenty to choose from.
Absolutely, we do, and there's some good ones up there. So we'll get to that in a minute as well. So, John, so I know we've had conversations before we've jumped on this podcast here. So when I was first introduced to you guys, my initial thought, incorrectly by the way, was you are a content management service, right? So with that being said, tell us kind of more specifically what you guys are. And I guess as a $50 follow-up question to that is how you're different than a CMS.
Yeah. So, a lot of these companies that are in our space that are offering digital signage solutions kind of have to go through this exercise of, do we provide our own software solution or do we resell other software solutions? And I think one of the things that we really positioned ourselves on when we first started the company was being, for lack of a better term, being agnostic, meaning that we know that because not one solution is going to fit the gamut for all of our customers, we wanted to be kind of students of the industry. We wanted to see what's out there and work with them. But in doing so, we found that there are gaps in the market when it comes to content delivery services. So what we've done and what makes us a little bit different is that we're really focused on the content delivery through the variety of different platforms that are out there. So we partner with a lot of different content management platforms, and we bring really highly dynamic automated content to those networks.
Very good. Now, you don't have to divulge who those are, but those partnerships, I'm assuming, are going pretty well for you.
Yes.
I guess my next question to that is, because BlueStar has several content management systems or companies out there, are you willing to kind of expand that partnership base?
Always. Yes. So actually, the team had a call today with another content management platform. Sometimes it's driven by a client who has a very specific need, and we need to do some research and find who can fit that need. Sometimes it's industry specific. We've got partners that are very strongly focused in certain industries. And sometimes it's really just us educating on what's happening in the space so that we're making sure that we're on top of the latest when it comes to content services for our customers. So the short, long answer to the short is, yeah, absolutely. We want to meet with them. We want to have partnerships.
Well, that's good. Well, we can certainly assist with that as we move forward in our relationship here. So can you go into a little bit more detail on how you're partnering with these guys and specifically what you're doing, if that makes sense? And
yes. Yeah. So, kind of the history of digital signage content has evolved quite a bit, specifically in the last 10 years. It was a natural progression of print, right? So you think of like a retail space and people are printing signs and they're printing sales. And unfortunately, those sales are changing weekly now, sometimes by the minute or by demand. So we've focused on creating content solutions that are tied to data integration. So simply put, we're taking data that exists in a variety of different formats and we're automating that into the content itself. So think of it as live web pages that are being displayed on digital signage platforms.
Perfect. Almost like weather. It's the weather, for instance.
Yeah, weather would be like a really simple version of that. So, as you know, obviously weather is dynamic and it changes regularly. So, being able to display that on a page, but this goes as deep as caloric values for menu items. It could be pricing. It could be birthdays if it's corporate communication. It could be anything that's available online. Honestly, we can integrate in, and we've done some pretty unique integrations.
Yeah, that's neat. That's awesome. So I know we have some birthday boards and anniversary boards and at BlueStar, and I think if I remember correctly, you guys had also talked about integrating real time a like KPIs.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's and those will definitely change by the minute, by the half hour, 15, 30 hour increments, right? Based on what the productivity level is, especially when we're talking about like a manufacturing floor or a DC distribution center or other kind of warehousing
Yeah,
space.
we work with a customer that wanted to incentivize their warehouse workers and actually kind of place them against other like warehouses around the country, where they could see where they stacked up in real time in terms of product movement through the warehouse versus other locations. So being able to have that real time data on the floor in front of the workers to incentivize efficiencies. So a lot of various use cases.
Which could be motivating if you're talking about funds, right? So you could incentivize your employees. They get real time updates on, say, listen, I need to pick 20 items per hour. I'm currently at 18. What do I need to do to get to 20? Right. So that gives you that breakdown as the employee. It empowers me to do what I need to do to hit my bonuses or whatnot.
Exactly. You know, we kind of position it as art and science. It's a blend of art and science, meaning the content has to look really, really good and it has to be engaging. So it can't be PowerPoint type content. It has to be motion graphics or production value content. But we know that there's costs associated with creating really good content, which is why the more we can automate, the more efficient it can be for the consumer. But also, it's going to be a lot less expensive to have to update content on a regular basis because the content's doing that on an automated basis.
So I want to throw this one at you. This we did not discuss this. So how are you guys partnering or how are you guys working with AI?
Well, that's interesting because AI is kind of this endless database of content that we can tap into. Actually, we teased a little bit of that. You're probably followers of 16.9, the blog, right? So we actually were one of the first companies to produce an AI automated piece of content where it was actually linked to Chat GPT. And just for the sake of making it simple so people can understand how AI can integrate with content, we said, let's do kitchen tips and tricks. And we had Chat GPT essentially create an endless list of all of these tips and tricks of things that you can do while baking or cooking or preparing a meal. And it can automatically update every single time it goes in rotation into a playlist. So that's a piece of content that remains relevant, that's updated, that doesn't need to be touched. So that's a prime example of how that could work. So we have a lot of customers that are like, okay, that's great, but how do I monitor that the tip or trick or whatever that we're automating is going to be appropriate for my network? So that's where that human element's kind of always going to play a role. I believe at least, where you're going to have almost a queue of things and they can be approved or denied. So that's the kind of stuff we would do on the back end is create kind of a database that someone could go into, approve or deny, but then the rest of it just continuously remains automated.
So that's interesting that you say that because I hadn't thought about this, but it's almost you almost need the human functionality for editing almost, right? Does it?
Yes.
And before you jumped on here, one of my coworkers here was showing me something that they put together with AI, and the intent was it was for a scanner, and they tried to plug the picture that they had taken into an AI created warehouse scene, and the arm was sticking out the side, so to have that human element, the AI is going, yeah, this is perfect, right? And it's binary kind of thinking, I guess binary type of thinking. Whereas when I look at it or you look at it, we're going, what the heck is going on here? This is insane, right? Nobody's arm goes that way to scan when it's coming, the hand was coming in towards the body as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah,
So,
there's like hands, feet, different types of movement that AI that struggles with. We've taken kind of I'll call it an ethical position at Freshwater in terms of content. we don't necessarily use AI for the actual content itself. We use it for the data. Because AI right now, there's some controversy around where they're pulling those assets from, and they could be elements of copyrighted pieces of content. And in a commercial space, we can't take that liability on. Now, if we're working with like an Adobe, I think it's Firefly is the Adobe AI version. They use kind of ethical AI content. It's just like opt-in type content. So you've got artists that are creating content on a regular basis that exists on the web. These are artists that said, yes, go ahead, use my content. I'm perfectly okay with that. That way we don't run into any problems on a copyright situation.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes it's the old adage from Jurassic Park, if you're old enough to remember that.
Yes.
The question is, just because we can, we should be asking whether or not we should, right?
And that's the tough thing about being kind of leaders in the space is we've got to make decisions, put stakes in the ground in terms of what we're comfortable doing and what we're not comfortable doing. I know that one of the challenges we're going to face is that as AI gets better and the feet and the hands and the movements improve, you're going to have clients that are like, I'm just going to do that. So it's important to have, that secret sauce of additional value add, which is why we focus so much on the data integration side of things.
It's a good point because that's fixed most of the time. Well, I shouldn't say fixed. What I should say is the data normally isn't going to change for the stuff that you're kind of putting in there. Now it's going to be live and it's going to be changing. I guess the data set will change, but where you're getting that data from necessarily might not be, right? So there's a fixed component to that to say, all right, yeah, I'm pulling data for KPIs. It's going to the same spot. The actual numbers are going to change based on what's picked and what's not, and that's going to change, but the actual data that I'm pulling from will not, right? So that takes that kind of automated piece.
Oh, Josh, you're absolutely correct. Absolutely. I mean, just if you look behind me, there was a menu there. To the end user, to the customer, when they see a menu board, it's just one piece of content. But when we create that menu board, it's 3 different data sources. One's coming from a marketing database that has images of the food that they're selling. One's coming from a product pricing database. One's coming from a caloric value database. We're kind of meshing all those things together to create that really simplistic end product.
And I just had an aha moment, John, and that's where the whole digital integration piece comes into play, right?
Yes.
That's it. There you go. Perfect. Oh, that was very well done. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, all right. So one last thing here, as I know we've kind of focused in on kind of where you're getting that data. Are there any other points? Or let me ask this. I'll ask originally. Is there anything else you want to kind of deliver to the audience about you or your company that might be differentiators in the marketplace? One, and we'll start there. We'll go with that.
I think one of the things that's made it challenging to be in our position as a company is that we focus on all of the elements of a successful network and that turnkey solutions. That means we've got to be experts at content. That means we've got to be experts at sourcing the hardware. That we have to be experts at hanging the hardware. We have to be experts at servicing the hardware and the software, managing the content. Because we have clients that want us to kind of manage everything for them. So we are kind of that boutique that can do it all, and we don't half-ass any of it. All of it is really thought forward, and it's very strategic. It's kind of like a consultative approach.
John, you said a bad word, man.
You can beep it out.
Yeah, we can beep it out. It's fine. I think most of us that are watching this are over 18 anyways. And if they're not,
all right, I blame the solid gold.
Yeah, there you go, man. And then one last thing is obviously BlueStar is a huge distributor of digital signage, along with mobile computers and other companies that do kind of all-in-one type of touchscreen devices. I guess my question to you is, what are you looking for in an ideal partner to work with from a BlueStar standpoint?
So when we started the company, our legal name is Freshwater Digital Media Partners. We started the company with a very strong focus on partnership, and we truly believe that partnership is a two-way street. We don't form partnerships just to get something out of our partner. We form partnerships to grow together. So we're looking for partners that understand our business needs, that we understand their business needs, and that we can find kind of that middle ground value where we can provide that value and receive that value as well. So if it's partnering with a software company, it's potentially leads, and we're building out solutions that involve that software. That's where a lot of the software partners that we have value our relationship. We work with a European software provider that doesn't have a presence in the United States. They want to be able to sell their software, but they can't just sell their software. They got to sell displays and installation and a full service. So that's where the value of partnering with a Freshwater really works out well for that type of relationship.
That's perfect. And BlueStar is a global distributor, so
Yes, and we buy a lot of displays from BlueStar.
Yes, and that's a nice little tie-in. So, all right, if you guys need to get a hold of John here from Freshwater Digital Media or Freshwater Digital, do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. I will be happy to share John's contact information with you. I'm sure we will provide links into the podcast, but you know how to reach us here at BlueStar. I'm Josh Kelly. This is John Dodge. And before we sign off, I'd be remiss to say this is ISVs on Tap. And John, I'll tell you what, this was your choice. Let's keep in mind, John is from Grand Rapids. So, John, you want to introduce this beer?
Yeah, we had a lot of different brewers to choose from today, but we decided to go with Founders. Founders is a local favorite. The founders were actually local to Grand Rapids, but they sold to a Spanish company. We still love their beer. It's fun to go to different cities around the world and still see their beers being distributed, but solid gold. Check them out. Great beer.
There it is. Perfect. So this is, if you guys can see, it's a nice kind of golden color. And from my standpoint, I'm not a huge, I do not like IPAs. So when I smelled this originally, what I had, and Founders is kind of famous for their IPAs, right?
Yes, they are very much so.
So and my guess is this is the base to all their beers. Is this kind of
this is their attempt at just a standard lager. It's smooth. It's good for a 2:00 meeting.
Hey! Don't divulge the time, man. Come on, come on. But I can definitely taste. I can definitely smell some citrus in there, like a very base. Kind of base IPA, right? So
yes,
that's at least my take. But it's good. It's got a good flavor. It's not too hoppy, in my opinion, but this is a good choice. So, John,
20 IBUs. It's pretty smooth. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers to you.